Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we're glad to be back after another successful SOR fan party, which we will get into momentarily with Science Bob, who is tonight's guest. And we're glad to be home, and each and every one of you here as well, including Amy, Vegas, O in the gold medal position. W. Decker, not only second with a silver medal, but he's kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, W. Decker, for kicking things off. Luscious Jules taking home a bronze medal tonight. We're glad to have you here, Jules. Thank you. Hi, Robert Lamoth and Eternity Eternal. Good to see you. Karyn in the Woo Train and number 46 in your program, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Hi, Chris. Teen, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. Tim Mothman and his goatee. Good to have you back. Rach Beal is here. Rach Beal will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Richard Steele, it was great to meet you in Reno, my man. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Brown Dwarf and Paramarv. Good to see you both. Deidre, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. Lee the Bee, good to see you. And who else is here? Well, let's take a look, shall we? We have up next the cryptid huntress, the gorgeous Jessica Jones. Yes, we love her around here. All right, continuing on with our roll call tonight. Who's next on our list? Well, let's take a look here. Important conversations apparently going on here. And Noble Patrick is back. Noble Patrick will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Hi, Puck Elf. How are you? Millennium, my man. We missed you this year. Next year, you got to come. Okay, continuing on with our roll call. Thomas Rock, good to see you. Canna Chef Chris and Christine Lynn. Thank you both for coming on in. There's a nice super chat from Cosmic Joe. Thank you, Cosmic Joe, for the love and support. We love you around here. Android Paranormal. Kawhi Snyder, or Cowie Snyder. Yeah. NB, Marty Burback. He's a hell of a guy, Marty Burback. He was at our party, too. Good to have you here, Marty. Thank you for coming on in. Little Cam over on Twitch just finished curling 200 pounds 18 times. Juan Marquez, welcome to SOR Chat. Super Crazy, good to see you. And who's next on our list here? Well, let's take a look. It's Tets or TETs. I don't know what he wants to be called, but that's just what we're saying. Phil the Stalker, thank you for coming on in. Crackshot, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing? Good to see you here. No, didn't pass away. We were in Reno for our fan party that we do every year, and it was a great time. Great time. Even Science Bob brought out the overalls. That's what I like. Hell yes. It's always a good time when Science Bob brings out the overalls. Abbott Hoffman and Aloha Dave, good to see you both. Mario, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Melvin, thanks for coming on in. Corey, what's happening, my man? Hi, Susan Alloway. And who's next on our list? Yennefer, thank you. She prefers a soft J. Yes, she does. Science Bob, thank you for coming in and doing the super chat along with the interview. We appreciate you, Bob. Love you so much. Here we go. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. How y'all doing? We are back with Science Bob and friends. Dr. Bob McGwier is our guest in our return show from the SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada. We're in roll call right now, and who's next? Well, it's little Robbie Minas. Little Robbie Minas. How you doing, buddy? Go Oilers, go. Yeah. Let's go Oilers. Absolutely. In the chat room, from Virginia City, we got Merle. Merle is in the chat room. Merle it up, people. Stargazer, how you doing, my man? Dirty Filth, what's happening, buddy? Is Blob going to make a sighting tonight? Let's hope. Let's hope. All right, continuing on. Pix, how you doing? And who else is next? Let's see here. We got 14 seconds. Can we get it going here? Scrolling. Vanessa, Michael Leger has returned, people. Holy cow. All right, everybody, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Mumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by listening to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. All right, we got a great show for you tonight. Dr. Bob McGwier is here, also known as Science Bob. He'll be joining us momentarily to break down a lot of UFO news. And we'll even talk a little bit about our Reno fan party that we just returned from. And it was good to see Science Bob and Bright. Yeah, we'll get to her and Bob momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton is here from Among the Missing. Courtney Marcassani will have the UFO report. At least we think so. She's traveling right now. If not, Nicole will come on in and hang out with us. All right, it is that time of the month. We bring in Dr. Bob McGwier, known around these parts as Science Bob. He's formerly of Virginia Tech University, formerly of the Central Intelligence Agency, formerly of the NRO, formerly he's done a lot of things in his life that are so spooky, he can't even talk about them. Well, Science Bob tonight is going to break down a lot of this UFO news that is happening, going on, everything from Lou Elizondo to David Grush, Sean Kirkpatrick, and even what the Pope has to say about the weird things going on and how we may have to accept them. Oh, yeah. It's all real. It's all right here. Science Bob, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. And I want to say a big thank you to you and Bright for coming on to Reno for the 3rd annual fan party. You're one of the only ones who has not missed one. You haven't missed one yet. And I appreciate you, my man.
It's fun, Dave. So I didn't know how much fun it would be when the first one I went, but it was amazing to me how much we, the people that do this show with you, mean to our audience members. And, you know, it feels like it's a joy and it feels like a responsibility, and I enjoy it. And we had a great time. We had a good visit to Virginia City, saw some spooky, ghosty things, went out into the desert and saw some craft with our CE5 gig, about a dozen or more. So it was great. And Lala brought a hitchhiker home that she had to work for a day to get rid of.
Oh, nice. Merle is in the chat room right now. He's currently listening in at the haunted Gold Hill Hotel in Virginia City.
Wow.
He's there. Yeah, he's having his dream vacay right now. I mean, he's hit up the Washoe Club, Virginia City, the museum, and a bunch of other places around that area. He's still pumped up and still going strong before he flies.
Lala said the dead were everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, I hadn't been to Virginia City in 34 years, man. 34 years. And the last time I was there, I still remember gravel roads. And now it's all paved. But it was weird because I was 16 years old back then. Couldn't get into the bars. Nope. Now I went to the bars. I even went to this cigar and bar shop and bought a vanilla cigar. Oh, it was good. It was very, very good.
The first time I ever heard of Virginia City, I was looking at early YouTube. And on early YouTube, there was Zach Bagans, Nick Groff, and what's his name? And they were where our friend Merle is sleeping tonight. And they had a wild experience with all sorts of stuff and boards flying through the air and screaming like girls. It was amazing. Yeah, so I thought, wow, that looks like fun. I don't think I'd scream that much, but anyway. So I became interested in ghost hunting, and I've had my own ghostly experiences now.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you did, because I know you're somebody who needs the evidence in order to move on. That's your scientific background that you have. But you know what? I had somebody approach me. Vaughn Patrick approached me. We rode back to the hotel together. Vaughn is in our chat room all the time. He's from Edmonton, Alberta. Go Oilers. And the one thing that he said was that really meant the world to him was, as a listener to this show, frequent listener to this show, he stated that one of the things that he will take away from the trip was the fact that he got to hang out with you and Lala. He got to hang out with Jim Goodall. He got to hang out with Melinda and Lorian and Jessica Jones and many others, to learn, you know, how we absolutely love this field. We cherish this field. You know, we're very protective of it. We're very caring about it. And he said it was nice to be able to, you know, listen, to actually meet people who he's only heard on this show or seen on our YouTube channel, but actually meet you guys and have a comfortable conversation with you guys. And that is the purpose of it all. This isn't a conference. This is a get-together with our guests. This is a get-together with our fans, and our fans getting to know you guys, because I know you guys.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about kind of the SOR family is it's not full of actors and suit-wearing geeks with their hand out for money. It's people without stuffed shirts who are everyday people interested in the same things our audience is interested in, and we're happy to see them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I know from your end of the spectrum, you like meeting people and hearing their stories.
I really do. I would love got to see Mama and her son again. But her son and I used to work at the same place.
Yeah. Charlie's a good guy.
He's a really good guy.
Mama Catherine, if you're listening, mwah, I love you, my dear. Yep. Absolutely love you. And it was so good. It was a fun time. I hope everybody in Radio Land goes over to our YouTube channel and can actually hear the 3-hour episode that we did on YouTube with all of our stars that were there. And, you know, it was incredible. Sweet Robbie G was great. Jessica Jones was great. And, you know, I got presented by one of our listeners, longtime listeners, Brad Bunt. He never comes into our chat room, but he listens all the time. And he gave me a beautiful Canadian mint coin.
Wow.
Mint coin. Wow. And Bob, this coin, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Canadian Mint, actually, the last number of years, has created coins, specialized coins, of UFO incidents.
I did not know that.
Yes. And the first one that came out a number of years ago now was on the Shag Harbor incident.
Nice.
And that coin is now, you could buy it at the time for 125 Canadian. And that coin is now worth over $2,000.
I believe it. I believe it. Because look, Shag Harbor is Canada's Roswell.
Yes, it is. And the Shag Harbor one is around there as well. But he gave me the one where this happened in the 1960s or 70s, where in Cowichan, British Columbia on Vancouver Island, a nurse was checking up on a patient in the middle of the night when this bright light was coming out of the room. And when she looked out the window, there was a UFO there hovering beside the the hospital room. And she could actually see the occupants inside. So the Canadian Mint did a piece on that, and that's the coin that Brad got me.
Nice.
So very, very thankful for that. Very thankful for that.
Yeah, Brad seemed to be in fine form and having a good time.
Oh, Brad's always having a good time. Doesn't matter where he is. He's always having a good time. Lord knows that. I want to get into, Bob, let's get right into it tonight because there's so much that we have to touch on tonight.
Boy, I'm telling you, there were some bombshells today and all last week.
Well, let's get into the Lou Elizondo stuff because Elizondo has been pretty quiet on Twitter or X on social media the last, well, let's say better part of a year. I mean, yes, he's popped in and out, but he's really been overly quiet.
He's been careful while he's planning his book and going through the DOPSR approval process. But something happened, and he put out several hundred words on Twitter. So let me go through it a little bit. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to give people a synopsis. So Lou started saying when people first heard his story, the Pentagon confirmed his role in ATIP. And he left the department and went out, and suddenly they started denying his abilities, and they got presented with an FOIA request from John Greenwald, and they denied the existence of any email or correspondence between Lou and other seniors within the department concerning a non-existent program ATIP. And that was just awful. And then, whoops, somebody else did a FOIA and one of his emails released. So he and his lawyer confronted them and they admitted they had the emails. So they lied to the American people or made a horrible mistake and then had to backtrack. So the last thing I'll go over is to quote, to add insult to injury. I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I am not suicidal. I am not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illegal activities. If something happens to me, or my family members in the future, you will know what happened. Close quote.
Who's threatening you?
Look, Dave, UFO history and anecdotes are full of these private contractor goons being sent out to enforce secrecy from people that are talking. And they have been brutal. And then David Grush got in front of Congress and he said he was aware of people that had gotten killed by them. And Lou and Dave are not the only people telling those stories. I mean, I've had my deal. You remember the camera I found in my front yard that I didn't own? And that was right where you told me it would be. And
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said, do you remember the camera that was in my yard that you told me right where it would be?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, I believe Jules and I both called cameras in your yard.
Yep, one in one place and one in another, and it was I found them, so they were monitoring me, and we had a remote viewer walk straight into our house, and I think appeared as an orb. It was as bright as the sun, but no heat off of it. And then since I moved here and we moved in together, we've had multiple black helicopters with no markings fly over. One of the times they zapped us and we had missing time. So, this stuff goes on, Dave, and we might as well face it. But the time for this secrecy that allows these brutal contractors to get away with this needs to end.
Well, you know what? It seems to be the UFO world seems to be a target right now for everything from disinformation people to greedy people looking for hundreds of thousands of dollars by becoming donors. I don't know if you heard that story about Dr. Stephen Greer, but holy cow. I mean, let's get back to Elizondo a second. One of the things that stirred it up again was that somebody on Amazon put out that his book will be coming out in October. And Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post, who's known to be a little bit of a poop disturber, decided that he was going to go buy the book and he was going to go and get in line and basically said he was going to rip it apart. And Elizondo decided to get a little snarky on Twitter about that.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame him. Look, Greenstreet has always been, even in the days when he was behaving, and he was on with, what's his name from Britain, in the basement, the cellar of the basement, or whatever they called it, and he was doing UFO stories kind of straight. He's always been a conservative, and so is what's his name from England. I won't say his name because I don't like him. Anyway, and he's a nobody that has a nice accent, so he sounds big. And then he later on became negative, and then he talked Brandon Fugal into letting him go to Skinwalker Ranch, and he acted so nice. Brandon was so good to him, let him roam freely, told him when weird things were happening and where he'd go see him, and he left there, called it all a fake, and wrote an assassination piece and put out an assassination video on what Fugal and Skinwalker Ranch and their team. It was awful. So I have nothing for him. I don't care about him. I don't care what he writes. I don't care what he says. I don't care if I never hear from him again.
Well, it's something with Elizondo that he is a hero to many and a pariah to others when it comes to this UFO story. And Elizondo basically was trolling back at Greenstreet for once. Basically, put out a tweet of a girl on a beach doing what do they call those? Cartwheels,
Yeah.
and who misses the last one and drives her head into the sand. And Elizondo's point was it must be exhausting, the mental gymnastics needed to keep certain narratives going.
Yep.
And then he directed one straight at Greenstreet because he quoted Greenstreet's tweet, basically saying, "Does this mean I have to send back the flower arrangement and the heart-shaped balloons you sent me? Please say it isn't so. I beg you." No. I thought that was fantastic.
It was awesome. Yeah, and but I mean, Greenstreet has now come out and started telling his pieces of his biography that he used to be a disinformation agent and a public presence management person for the State Department. He's doing his disinformation professionalism in that rag he calls a paper.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Very, very much weird when it comes to that, Bob.
And I'm not making stuff up. He said it on X in the last week.
What do you think is happening with Elizondo now? Do you think that he is coming out because it has been, shown again, the story that Matt Ford from the Good Trouble show had put out with Ross Coulthard about Elizondo's emails being erased? I mean, to me, that's old news from a couple of years ago. What's the relevance of it now?
Well, he had gone quiet, but he got threats and was called by security and told he was under threats, that a threat had been, two things that it tells him. He's being monitored, and they thought enough of it to call him and tell him he was now that may be them poking him, trying to make him afraid and shut up by telling him he's under threat. But it was an official notification of credible intelligence of a threat to him and his family and other whistleblowers. Look, Elizondo and Chris Mellon, one of them is untouchable, but both of them are responsible for blowing up UFOs all over the world with those two videotapes they arranged to walk out of the Pentagon. The Tic Tac and the Go Fast and the, what do you call it? The
Gimbal.
spinner, whatever you call it.
The gimbal.
Gimbal. Well, those three videos changed the world. They led to a front page above the fold story in the Sunday New York Times. That's amazing. And that's just unheard of. And the secret keepers hate them.
Okay. How do these warnings work, Bob? For people like me who are not going to know anything like this, how does one get these warnings?
You mean directly or indirectly?
Well, you said that, people inside let Elizondo know
secure. So it was the way it read. So I'm adding my color to it. The way it read is he received official notification from security of a threat to him and other whistleblowers. And I'm sure this is an intimidation campaign, but it's official. In other words, they didn't say we're going to whack your knees. They just said you and all these other whistleblowers are under threat. You should be careful. And he knew what it meant. He knew it was intimidation and that they wanted him to pass it along to others. It's time for them to stand up and talk and call their bluff.
Okay. Who are they, Bob? With 90 seconds to go. Who are they?
We now know it's 80 plus people who worked in the program. Crash retrievals, reverse engineering, and dealing with NHIs and bodies. 80 plus people are now on the list. And Schumer is really talking out loud. He said in the last 2 days he was going to reintroduce the UAPDA this summer.
And who are they that are committing these threats?
Whoever runs the official secrets of UFO retrievals, reverse engineering, and interactions with non-human intelligence, alive or dead. It's those people. Look, there's a cabal spread all over government and corporations and in multiple countries. And there's a handful of them that sit on top, and they know everything with photographic memory, so they don't have to write anything down. And they're the only people that know how the cookie and onion comes apart and where its pieces are. And it's spread everywhere, Dave. This is very effective. It's very inefficient, and it's very costly, but they have kept a secret at the cost of progress.
Well, we're going to stick with Lou Elizondo here for a minute, going into the next half hour, because he was throwing confetti over Brandon Fugal in his now online public spat with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, all brought on by Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post. We'll get into that story and more with Science Bob and friends. Dr. Bob McGwier is here tonight talking UFOs. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. That's a solid start.
Oh, it was great. It was just, that all the news is like that this week.
All right, let's say hello to Stephen Clark, Gizmo, Tracy Benna, welcome. Sweet Tony D, and who else has joined us here? Kevin Clark, good to see you. And who's next? I think we're all caught up there. And for the last half hour, Bill WD40 has been lubing us up for tonight's show. All right. He wanted to make sure this first show after Reno was nice and smooth. So he's been lubing us up here, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Bill. Scanyan, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, that was a fun time, Bob.
It was great.
When did you leave? You left on Sunday.
Our flight left Reno 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. You know what happened after that, Bob?
What?
I hit $1,200 on a slot machine.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I donated $200 back because I went and played poker on Sunday night. But yeah, Tim Mothman and his goatee can confirm they were right beside me. Paisley Parker, nice to see you. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Joe Kirk, welcome to SOR chat. And yeah, it was nice to come home. I never win on slot machines, but this one was paying hard. Yes, Tim Mothman. We gambled until 5:30 in the morning. We did. It was fun. I don't know how you were walking, my friend. I was sober as can be. Not Tim Mothman and his goatee, though. Still trying to figure out who drank more. It was nice to actually come home from a trip with money in my pocket.
Let me ask you this. Did you see any of the craft in our CE5, or were you two gone?
No. I was, Bob, I didn't drink all weekend.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. I had a couple of shots of tequila because old Davey loves his tequila. And that was about it, man. I had one beer.
Yeah, I had 2 Budweisers. That's it.
Hi, Bobbert. Yeah, that was it. But I saw the one. Now, Brad Bunt caught a great one on his phone. That one was doing all sorts of zigzags, man.
I hope he shares it.
I'm going to try and get it from him. At first, it comes in, does a zigzag, then disappears, then pops back in. Hi, Morris Van Buskirk. Welcome to SOR chat. I don't know why my camera is glitching. But Bob, if I cut out again like that, just keep talking and I'll come right back. Okay.
I did. I just kept going.
Yeah. So I don't know. Carla, how are you? Good to see you. Everybody else feeling lubed up due to Bill WD-40? I know I am. Mama Catherine, we love you. Deborah Norsworthy, how are you? Yeah. I'll go check outside in a bit there, Pixie Lara. It's getting to that point, Bob, where it's getting to be daylight at this time.
Oh, yeah.
Phineas over on Twitch.
It doesn't get full dark until 9 p.m., and we're not even in June yet.
I know. Mennonite Abe, thank you for adding to the super chat tonight, buddy. We missed you in Reno. And Bob, why should our listeners, in 30 seconds or less, come to the SOR fan party?
Oh my goodness, it's just a fantastic time. They get to meet all the people they hear and see in the chat room, and us get and guests that come on your show, and people that are working on the show. And it's without a filter. We're not guarding anything we say. It's usually just a lot of fun. I mean, we don't get too rowdy. It's just that we let our guard down and have fun with our fans.
Marty Burback puts it best. It's meeting family. All right. Thank you, W. Decker, Joe, Bob, Juan, Lala, Android, and Abe for the super chats. Here we go with the next half hour. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our show is on every major podcast network as well as youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, continuing on, Science Bob and Friends. And Bob, while we were in Reno during the fan party, there was a little tete-a-tete between Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, Brandon Fugal. And Elizondo tweeted out about it today, or the last couple days, basically giving Brandon Fugal kudos and a pat on the back. Probably bought him a bottle of gin, too.
Yep.
For literally saying the truth. And that was...
And bringing the receipts.
Yes, the receipts being photographs after Stephen Greenstreet interviewed Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who just couldn't remember meeting with Brandon Fugal privately in a skiff, regarding the encounters and actions at Skinwalker Ranch in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, with Eric Bard and Jim Siegel and others, and others from Skinwalker Ranch, and Jim Lakatsky was there, and Senate Select Committee and staffers.
That's right. So what happened here, Bob, for our audience who may not be upfront with what's happened?
Kirkpatrick did not out and out lie that he was not there. He said he was telling Greenstreet he had no interest whatsoever in UFOs for any reason before he joined Arrow, and he about half regretted doing it. And then Greenstreet, to his credit, said, well, Brandon Fugal's claiming that y'all met in 2018. And Kirkpatrick went, I don't believe that's right. I don't remember that at all. So Brandon Fugal released a photo of the entire group standing in front of this screen with a PowerPoint slide of Skinwalker Ranch up on the screen. And Kirkpatrick was turned around looking at the camera with eyes that were like daggers. He was so angry he was being photographed. It was fantastic. And so Brandon just brought the receipts, said what's happened, and even Greenwald went, whoa. It's not been a good week for Kirkpatrick. He is getting trounced from every angle, and every little half-truth misdirection he tries, he gets caught out because, it's scientists inside the intelligence community think ufology is full of freaks that wear tinfoil hats. They forget it's full of former intelligence community professionals, former military who've been witnesses while with the military, et cetera, et cetera, and lawyers and every other kind of person has had experiences, because it's not just a thing the government sees. And they're smart enough to figure out his crap. And a bunch of us are coming out and now pointing out, we point out every time they try to use misdirection language. I've been doing it now for a year, saying, look, when he says there's no evidence of extraterrestrial life, I say, who said anything about extraterrestrial life? This is misdirection. And they hate that me and others like us are doing that. They just really hate it, and they can't get away with their crap anymore because we're on to them.
Well, I found it interesting that Brandon Fugal, who's, as public as he is about his life, he's still very secretive about what he knows about Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, there's a TV show, where at times the evidence on the show is underwhelming at best, at least in my opinion. And yet here he is basically slapping Kirkpatrick across the face with these photographs that he leaked, basically saying, hey, guy, like you said, Bob, to steal your line, I got the receipts here. What are you going to do about it? What are you?
Let me make one more comment.
Yeah, please.
The first 2 seasons with Skinwalker, I watched them because I like Fugal and I like Eric Bard. Starting in season 3, with more serious efforts to do scientific investigations with actual instruments. And every time they got something, they got a better instrument to try to get more data. And they are recording anomalies. And the last episode, they pulled a dead animal out of the river with teeth as big as a dire wolf. They have no idea what animal species this is, and they've sent it off for analysis, and we watched them pull it out of the river. I mean, the evidence that you can reject all the weird stuff they see in the sky, just the evidence they're getting with scientific instruments is anomalous. They're seeing an anomaly over one specific spot on the ranch that makes the GPS say they're 2,000 feet underground when they're anywhere they're near it. I mean, there are actual, measurable, repeatable anomalies there that demand scientific explanation, and they are getting the data. Now I respect them.
Now, if you're able to watch this episode on our YouTube channel, on the screen right now, I have the photo that Fugal literally popped up. Now, this photo, I'm just going to take a quick second here to read what Fugal stated. He said, on April 19th, 2018, my team from Skinwalker Ranch was asked to provide a confidential briefing in Washington, D.C. to the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and United States Armed Services Committee. Sean Kirkpatrick was at the head of the table. It lasted 2.5 hours. Now, the photograph that I'm posting here on YouTube has a giant screen, okay, that Fugal is standing beside.
And right in front of him is Eric Bard, Hal Putoff, and Dr. Jim Siegel.
Okay.
And across the table is Kirkpatrick. I don't know who is actually at the head of the table. And right behind him is Jim Lukatsky.
And Kirkpatrick is giving a really mean glare that someone is actually taking a photo.
The glare, if you zoom this photo, which you don't need to do now, but if others can go on Twitter and find it, you zoom the photo and Kirkpatrick's eyes are staring at the lens of the camera, glaring.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So you can bring up the other photo.
I could do
the other piece, because that's actually interesting.
Let me bring it up here, Bob. This photo, once again, shows who is there on the ranch team. There's Fugal. There's Hal Putoff.
There's Jim Sigala, Hal Putoff, Brandon Fugal, and Eric Bard. And Eric Bard is a PhD in physics, theoretical physics, and he is the chief scientist, a seriously highly published scientist that runs the data acquisition at Skinwalker Ranch.
The importance of this is what? Is it to decry the stories that Kirkpatrick is saying, or is it to bring Kirkpatrick down? What is the purpose of this?
They don't like being lied about, just like everybody else doesn't. And Kirkpatrick showed an interest representing, I think, NORAD and Space Command, and was sent in because we know now from a bunch of leaks that have happened in the last few months that NORAD runs the tracking for where these things are coming down for these retrieval teams to go get them inside the United States.
Overall, I think Fugal really did do a number on Kirkpatrick's credibility with this.
Destroyed it because the guy basically, without saying an out and out ball faced lie, deceit was deceptive and close to lying. And the lie he did tell was that he didn't remember. He would remember that group. Hal Puthoff is really well known in the intelligence community.
Well, he's been around literally since I think Harrison was president.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's not too surprising about that, But let's shift north of the border here for a moment, Bob. Okay, as we continue on with Science Bob and Friends, because Daniel Otis, a reporter for CTV News, actually had a good story here that put out.
Great one. Great story.
Okay. Now, Daniel Otis has been somebody who's been at the forefront of the Canadian UFO story. Really, one of the very few journalists that includes myself in that category in Canada, actually trying to bring news out about this. And I'm just going to read a little bit of his story here, if you don't mind. A U.S. intelligence agency wanted to meet with Transport Canada's lead on UFOs amid heightened threat or heightened interest in headline-grabbing news about the Pentagon's UFO research efforts. But through multiple freedom of information requests at CTV News, .ca investigation shows the senior federal transportation official repeatedly tried to downplay the enigmatic issue by contributing to contradictory media statements, pushing back against access to information requests. Okay, don't you find it funny, Bob, that you use FOIA requests down there? Ours are called ATIP up here. Isn't that coincidental?
It's hilarious.
All right. So anyways, with respect to Transport Canada having appointed a point of contact for the UAP subject, I think it's about time retired Transport Canada surveillance pilot Donald Spike Cavalench had said to the network. But judging by their responses, they may have picked the wrong guy unless, it gets dangerous when they say unless their whole goal is to obfuscate the subject and downplay anything having to do with UAPs in Canadian airspace. So basically what they're saying is through this is that Daniel Otis himself has been a pest in trying to play the role of John Greenwald in Canada by getting these ATIP requests. And they're tired of him, and they're trying to send this, Bob, and this is where it gets interesting again. CTV News previously reported that members of the Federal Transportation Minister's Office received a UFO briefing in 2022. Internal emails outline Juneau's participation and approval of the brief document, which specifically refers to service UFO cases. The document was created to assist the transport minister if UFO questions are raised in Parliament, which they have not been so yet. So basically, they're trying to form, through Transport Canada, this wild goose chase on how to get information out and what information to cover up. Now, the good old Canadians aren't supposed to do that, Bob, yet here we are.
Well, then now, the last of the story is they went, hey, look, we don't really have the ability to do much, and all of this, you need to go contact NORAD.
Pretty
much. A lot
much.
of people do not understand that NORAD is the North American Air Defense thing, and it's operated by the United States and Canada, and it has airspace protection an air superiority over Canadian and United States airspace as part of its mission, including detecting unknowns flying in it.
Well, the interesting part about it is, from what I have heard from sources, is, and member of Parliament Larry McGwier has come out publicly about this as well, is that Transport Canada is one of the groups that is actually stalling on giving information to Canada's top scientist, Dr. Mona Nemer, who will be drafting a UAP report, Canada's first since Wilbur Smith in 70 years, that is due to come out at the end of summer, early fall.
I got to tell you, just let me interject. Whenever you pick one guy and have him be the one guy who's going to do stuff with UFOs, you go to a Nobel level guy. Wilbur Smith was the best person to be doing UFOs in that era. Period.
So much. And I don't think a lot of people understand that so much so for Wilbur Smith that actually the U.S. government was at the time
sending him materials,
giving him material because they didn't know what to do with it, and they knew he was investigating.
They would walk into meetings that he had in Canada, handed him materials and say, you need to test this for us before we leave tonight. I mean, he was basically working for the United States Air Force or whatever intelligence agency was doing it.
Absolutely.
And he got approval from his prime minister, went down and got cleared, got read into the program, told the dirty secrets, and agreed to do what he was doing. And he did it so he could see what they were getting. And he knew a lot of details. I mean, in Grant Cameron's writings on Wilbur Smith, everybody needs to go read Grant Cameron's books because he covers Smith in detail with lots of references, and the guy was amazing.
It's very amazing, but it also portrays the wonderment from me and a lot of other people. How tied are the Canadian government's hands when it comes to the U.S. controlling this story and narrative?
The cabal, which includes some Canadians, I'm certain, because it's U.S. and its allies, and I'm sure that means Five Eyes, they've agreed to cede control of this thing for the entire group to the controller of the secrets, which is the U.S. people. I'm sure there's Canadians on Majestic 12, but probably government, military, and corporate in Canada. But the Americans, they don't give up control. I'm sorry, they just don't.
No, but I'm curious though, because Canada has been coming at this report level from such a different level. There's no threat narrative up here. There is, even the Department of National Defense released a statement a couple of years ago saying they've had 0 threats from anything UAP/UFO.
Well, let's not go to a lake region and find a guy that had burns all over his body. Let's not go up to any part of Canada where a fighter jet was shot down. It's baloney.
Right. So the point that I'm getting at, though, Bob, Stephen Michalek, when he got burned by the UFO at Falcon Lake, that's because it was taken off to get the hell out of Dodge. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think they pointed their engines at him in any sort of hostility.
You know what they did do? They left behind credible
evidence that they did with some sort of metallic type of sludge on the ground. It's like when you to put that in perspective for people, when you have your air conditioning running on your vehicle for too long, it starts to leak water out of the muffler.
Yeah, exactly, because it's condensing all the humidity out of the air.
That is correct. So the point that I'm getting at with that, Bob, is Canada is wanting to look at this on a scientific level of what is happening, not a defense or threat narrative level as per what is happening in the United States. How much of a rift behind the scenes do you think this has caused?
The cabal does not want the science and engineering secrets it has learned to come out in public because they are afraid our adversaries will use it. And they are keeping hundreds of years of advances secret, in my opinion. The things we see in the air, record with cameras, where they're glowing, are using a lot of energy that, unless it's something really special, I don't know how they're powering them. So it's the one thing that makes me believe in, quote, 0 point energy or whatever it is they have. And that level of energy and that compact form, not throwing off heat, allowing you to drop 100,000 feet and stop on a dime, which would be a 50 megaton bomb without an ounce of disturbance. This is miraculous technology that would change the world, Dave. But it would also end a lot of industries and a lot of ownership of stock.
Yeah, it's going to change the way things are looked at for sure. And I'm just wondering, with Daniel Otis reporting on this, and I know there is more stuff about to come out. I know that because I'm the one writing it right now. I just can't say what it's about. But I think that this could really open up the doors to see how unilaterally the Canada and the United States are working on this topic. Never mind the Five Eyes.
Yep. The Five Eyes, and all the leaks say the Five Eyes are in it. We can't get the Five Eyes to admit it. The British Minister of Defense called a task in the weekly meeting in Parliament, lied and said they have no program.
How can there be no program, Bob?
If there is a controlled committee that's run by people in the United States, and just a few of them are, quote, informally members, they don't have a program, but this cabal does. And the way the secrecy works is these people have other jobs, which is their official job. And only the people who are in underground laboratories do it all day and don't say they do anything else. The government and corporate people have public-facing jobs and titles while they do other stuff in the background. This is how the secret is kept.
It's all about the secret, isn't it?
It's all about the secret and not wanting to give away to our peer adversaries before we can go over and rake them over the coals and clean their clock. And we also don't want to undermine our captains of industry that own and pay for the best Congress money can buy.
We got a minute to go here on Science, Bob and Friends, before we wrap up hour number one. And Bob, just looking at the way everything is kind of going here, do we see more of this secrecy going? Do you see that that maybe, just maybe, there may be some stalling on the Canadian release of the UFO report due out in late summer, early fall?
I see stalling, but look, they are literally waiting on the U.S. to pull the trigger. So if the UAP Disclosure Act, that's the end of MJ-12. It's over. And the Canadians and the Australians and the British and the Canadians will be released, and New Zealanders will be released from their handcuffs. And I'm sure it's Japan and Korea, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you know what? We're going to find out very soon. When we return for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio on Science, Bob and Friends, we're going to take a look at the Pope. What did the Pope Francis and the Vatican have to say about the phenomenon? Why were they even talking about it? Science, Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGwier continues here on Spaced Out Radio. With hour 2 next, we'll even try and squeeze in some of your questions from our audience coming up on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Science Bob.
I love a good wah-wah pedal.
Me too, my man. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break here, Bob, and I'm just going to put you back in the green room, okay?
Sure.
All right, be right back. Oh, sorry, didn't. That's for next hour. All right, here we go. Be right back, people. right, we are back. Bring Science Bob back in here momentarily. Next year for the SOR fan party, we are either heading to one of two places. We are heading back to Las Vegas, or we are heading to Apache Junction, Arizona. One of the two. So we haven't got the dates yet. We'll be figuring that out over the next little bit. We will let you know as soon as possible. So that way you guys can start your plans for coming to the fan party. And big thank you tonight to W. Decker, Joe, Science Bob, Juan, Lala, and Android, and Mennonite Abe. So thank you very much, guys. Having fun yet, Bobbert?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go, bud. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We very much appreciate you tuning us on in on a nightly basis, so thank you very much. And we want to give a shout out to the Desert Clam, who has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what is this? It is Zugmatography. Zugmatography is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Dr. Bob McGwier, known around here as Science Bob, as Science Bob and Friends continues on Spaced Out Radio. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, Dave. We always have fun with this.
Bob, one of the things that happened while we were in Reno for the fan party was we learned about the passing of Dr. Bruce Maccabee.
Very sad.
He was somebody who you and I interviewed on this show on Science Bob and Friends a couple of years ago. We knew he was battling his health from Parkinson's and other deadly diseases. I mean, for people who may not know who Dr. Bruce Maccabee is or was, why was he so important to the UFO community?
He was a truly serious, highly trained, used by the government and others, video and photographic analyst. And he understood the physics of flight. He just married a bunch of things that made him extremely valuable. And he put together some of the most credible studies related to actual UFO incidents that punctured lots of lies that the government told. He was very valuable, and he will be missed.
He was also considered one of the birds in what was nicknamed the aviary.
Yes. Yes, the birds in the aviary were cleared people who had done work, and he did work for the government. But he also was interested in getting truth out about the UFO. And I forgot his aviary name.
Yes, but the fact that Maccabee was able to open up publicly about what he knew, I mean, that still amazes me, because here was a guy who is literally in the throes of the UFO story within the United States government, Bob.
Yeah, there were several like that. I mean, John Alexander was a member of the aviary. Jack Howe was a member of the aviary. People with very high security clearances were in the aviary, and they were trying to figure out stuff that had been hidden with this cabal, and they knew it was hidden in the cabal, and they wanted the secret out of the cabal or to be admitted in.
What was probably in your mind his biggest contribution to the UFO story?
detailed analysis of certain incidents showing that they had to be anomalous using physics and calculations.
It really shows how in depth and how the U.S. government really employed extremely brilliant people like Dr. Maccabee to talk and to study this subject.
Yep, it's just he was quite brilliant, and he would take people's cases if they interested him and do analysis on them, and he did quite a few for MUFON and others.
And he will be sorely missed, and another legend in this field.
Very big. And his wife was a big time experiencer. I think that was the motivation.
Jan Maccabee was someone who also was featured on David Paulides' Missing 411 Hunters episode, where she didn't disappear, but at the end, it actually showed that she had a close encounter with what we call a Glimmer Man.
Yep.
That was hopping tree to tree, much like the Predator in the Predator movies, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura in it. And I still, you can actually Google that photo and see that photo where she was sitting in a deer stand, waiting for this deer that she'd been hunting for a while on their property to come by. And all of a sudden she heard some trees start shaking, and she looks to her right and she sees this thing. Now, Jan, being not only brave enough, but smart enough to bring out her phone, actually caught a picture of this Glimmer Man type object sitting in the tree next to her, staring at her, like confused of, is that a person or not? Because she was wearing camouflage. And at the exact same time that moment was happening, Bob, the other interesting point to that is that just a couple miles down the road at the local high school, where the marching band was practicing for homecoming, those kids and the teacher and others actually had a multiple UFO sighting. Multiple people had a UFO sighting, as there was a UFO hovering in the sky above the field.
Yep. They were an amazing couple, but the Glimmer Man was really interesting, and to have it contemporaneously with a mass sighting is pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely amazing. He will be missed. Bob, I want to change topics here because I want to hit this one up, okay? A number of years ago, Pope Francis came out, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically saying, if alien life is out there and visiting Earth, I would be willing to, bless them in the name of the Lord, okay, and baptize any alien that wanted to follow the Lord. And now, well, since then, they built Lucifer, the telescope that looks deep into space for whatever reasons they are using it for. Many of us believe that they are looking for any sort of extraterrestrial life. But all of a sudden, a new article came out. And I'm going to read this article in full here because I want your reaction to it. I was just blown away by this. The Vatican is preparing to release a document giving guidance on how to discern supernatural phenomena. The Holy See press office announced the upcoming document, which will be published in just a couple of days here, Bob, with a live stream press conference featuring prefect for the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez. Fernandez has previously said the dicastery is in the process of finalizing a new text with clear guidelines and norms for the discernment of apparitions and other phenomena, according to the National Catholic Register. An apparition refers to an instance in which a divine entity, such as a saint, the Virgin Mary, or Christ himself, makes itself known to a person on earth. The concept is a recurring theme in the Bible And most Christian denominations affirm the belief that such brushes with the supernatural can still occur today in various capacities. The Catholic Church urges extreme prejudice before ascribing phenomena to a supernatural force, warning that being too quick to attribute divine origin to explainable occurrences can damage the faith and warp belief. Alleged apparitions are usually documented and scrutinized by the diocesan bishop's office and then forwarded to Rome for further investigation. The last time the Vatican Doctrinal Office released guidance on apparitions was in 1978 under Pope Paul VI. That document, Norms Regarding the Manner of Proceedings in the Discernment of Presumed Apparitions or Revelations, was released due to the increased influence of mass media. The miracle of Fatima in 1917 is perhaps the most well-documented apparition in the modern day. After an alleged series of appearances by the Virgin Mary to several peasant children that promised a public miracle, tens of thousands of people in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to witness the sun move erratically across the sky and produce radiant colors for several minutes. The Catholic Church recognized the supernatural aspect of the event in 1930. Pope Pius XII formally approved the Fatima apparitions a decade later. Last month, the Vatican released a document providing guidance on the place of human dignity in modern age. The document denounced other theories as well, and, a little bit off topic there. But the fact is, here we go again with, under this Pope Francis and the Catholic Church, that they are once again delving into the supernatural, Bob.
It's really interesting. So, look, we've many of us who've studied the UFO field, past, present, and looking toward the future, realize that we have really smart people in our midst who've written very interesting books that say all sorts of different phenomena are all wrapped up in a single bundle. And we just need to figure out what parts they have in common and what relationship they have, if anything, with each other. I mean, Jacques Vallée and John Keel and others are come to mind immediately. And and last night I had an hour-long conversation with Reverend Michael Carter, who's been on the History Channel and on Ancient Aliens, and has written a premier book on all the instances when non-human intelligence show up in the Bible. And I believe that people, even believers in all three of the Abrahamic religions, have seen non-human intelligences in the form of angels and etc. for eons. It's just forever. And so we just need to accept, as the Catholic Church has done, that if they want to believe in the all-powerful God, they can't afford to limit what the all-powerful God can do without being unfaithful, so and committing blasphemy. So I think they're expanding what they will look at because they believe that God is the God of the entire universe.
Well, the other fact that I find interesting about it too, Bob, is the fact that if you look at things on a whole and in a pattern, we know that this Pope has talked about aliens and extraterrestrial life visiting Earth. We know that they have a keen interest in space and what is out there. And I believe, in my opinion only, that the Lucifer satellite or the Lucifer telescope, pardon me, is out there looking for life. I really do believe.
The acronym, which unfortunately spells out Lucifer, is doing extragalactic research, which who knows what that means. It has infrared sensitivities, which would be very helpful for finding Dyson spheres, craft that are powered up, and so forth, and can use special ability, having two instruments operating in parallel, to undo the ugliness the atmosphere does to the images. So it's going to be a great instrument, and the Catholic Church has done great by backing it.
Why do you think the Catholic Church has such an interest in the phenomena?
Well, I mean, the entirety of the history of the faith has phenomena in it. The visitation by Ezekiel's wheel was a UFO that flew over early Israelis, the early Jewish people, and there's just all sorts of stuff like that in the Bible. If they are if they are God's children and they believe in the Bible and it's their guide, there are UFOs in it. And so they believe. I also believe they know a lot more about the weird and the paranormal than anyone, because they've had the most unbelievable collection of writings and other materials in the entire world since a couple of 300 years after Christ died. And that's been because, and they've stored it in the underground library in the Vatican. And I just think they have a tremendous amount of stuff down there, including lots and lots of weird stuff. And it's the only document. I'm sure it's the best documentation in the world of this weird stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, the one thing I know, they're focusing on Christ-like activities and miracles. I get that. But to me, maybe it's the woo in me, Bob, but I really think where was that paragraph here? Let me just find it here for a second, where they stated that, you know, be discerning on what is basically evidence. Make sure it isn't, you know, EMF detectors going off because of copper wiring.
Right.
You know, literally they were basically saying in this, in my opinion, that ghosts are real, spirits are real. Okay, we have communication. We could communicate with the other side.
Absolutely.
Look at the miracles that happen. They're not going to come out and say you can talk to Aunt Elda or whoever, Jimi Hendrix or whoever it may be. They're not going to say that. They are going to put it in a religious type of text, which they did. But I think that they really said people are having communication and experiences with a paranormal phenomena that we need to open up and take a little bit seriously. But please, people, be skeptical. Use your discernment on what is right, because not everything is a ghost. All right. I have a mystery around the studio here, Bob, that just started happening that I'm trying to figure out right now. And that is my Bigfoot footprint that I have on the wall behind me. Okay. I've walked into my studio now 2 times since I put this up. I've only had this up for about 10 days. And twice I've walked into the studio, yesterday being one of them, where nobody comes into this studio but me. And this light has been on. Everything else is off, but the Bigfoot light has turned itself on.
Does it have a mechanical switch or is it touch?
No, it's remote control.
Wow. I don't know, dude.
So these things happen. And I find it interesting that it's happening since I moved the guitar behind me. So I'm just saying that I think, you know, the Pope and the Catholic Church is onto something. I think they are recognizing that paranormal phenomena is real. They can't come out and say it that way. But here we go, Bob. I mean, this to me is in my opinion, a disclosure that ghosts are real.
I believe they've had paranormal researchers and remote viewers for many, many years.
How important is that for that admittance?
To those of us who have these kinds of experiences, it's just kind of amazing that they do it, and it would be affirming to people who are members of the church to know that they can be taken seriously by their church.
Do you think it was maybe, and here's something that wasn't in the article, and I'm very curious to see the report when it comes out. Okay, but do you think it was maybe because more people these days are speaking out about having their own paranormal activity?
Oh yeah, yeah. That and we're now having scientists measuring the changes to the brain that go on when when people have odd experiences. It just happens all over, and they need to acknowledge that these things happen. Because they're parishioners, the people they are responsible for care and feeding of their souls, have these experiences, and they don't need to be told, go, don't talk to us about it, go away. They need support, emotional, spiritual, etc.
Do you think this is going to change other religious thoughts on this subject?
I don't know. I can't for the life of me figure out how fast they're going to move, which groups are going to move, which parts are going to move. But I think in general, there's a momentum toward accepting a lot of stuff that once the church called evil, that just is something that is.
Well, here's kind of where I'm going with this, Bob, is many religious people out there, and we all know them, they think that anything spiritual or paranormal is demonic, it's evil. We should not try to communicate with it because it's the devil himself at work trying to portray our mothers who have passed, our children who have passed, our dogs that have passed, okay, or anybody who we've loved or cared for in the past who's moved on to death. Okay.
Well, Dave, look, I've had experiences. Chris Bledsoe's had experiences, and these orbs that show up near us and other people, captured with a good camera, shows faces inside them, and they can be human, non-human, animals, pets. This has to be faced and dealt with, and people who see these things and have them in their lives needs to be supported.
I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. I don't expect you to have a correct answer for this, Bob. But do you, as we got about a minute to go here before we have to go to break, so we got to make it quick. Do you think when the Catholic Church speaks about something like this, because of their leadership role that they have across the globe, that governments actually pay attention and listen to it, considering what is happening?
Yes, governments listen to the Catholic Church, especially if they are in countries where a very large portion of the population is Catholic, like, for example, France and Italy.
All right. And on that note, Science Bob, hard to believe we're already through 90 minutes on Science Bob and friends. And when we return, we're going to try and take some of your questions here on Spaced Out Radio for Science Bob, Dr. Bob McGwier, and his segment, Science Bob and Friends, which we got him for another 30 minutes here on the show. Stay tuned, everybody. Spaced Out Radio second half comes up right after this, everyone. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear, buddy.
All righty.
All right, if you have any questions for Science Bob, put your questions in capital letters. I will get to them. All right. Got to be in capital letters. Hi, Michael Gutierrez. How you doing? Good to see you. Aussie Ange, looking beautiful, my dear.
Stepping away for a minute.
Sure, no problem. Aloha, Dave. Thank you for kicking in on the super chat tonight, my man. All right, very much appreciate the love. Android, I got your question. It's already highlighted. Flat 6, what's happening, my man? Really is good to be back. Really is. I think I'm going to invest in a better camera. This one's starting to look a little hazy. All right, Jeremy, you got your question. Got yours super crazy. I flew into Dallas when I went to Nebraska. That's where I got the hat. Channel Warhorse, did you have a question? I didn't see it. Got yours, Abbott? Philip Blair, yes, I do miss Taco Bell. I'm already missing it. What's my favorite U.S. state? Nevada. I love Nevada. I would move to Nevada.
I don't think people understand how beautiful the high desert can be.
Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous.
It is absolutely gorgeous around Virginia City. Mountains, vegetation, everything.
I will say this, Bob. If we end up having a our fan party back in Vegas next year, I think, let me check this. Hold on. That's too dark. Let's try that. I think what we're going to do is rent a bus on the Saturday and go out to Rachel, Nevada.
Yeah, we should. We should go have an Area 51 party and go out there and hoot and holler and do it on a bus so people can have a beverage.
And have one of them, what do you call them? Hoot nannies?
A hoot nanny.
Can we have a hoot nanny there?
We can crash the Area 51 gate.
Yeah. Jeremy, once we get a number more radio stations that we're working on right now, then we'll look at potentially holding a second one. Our listenership on the East Coast isn't as large as we would need it to go to the East Coast right now.
Yeah, it's the time of night.
Yeah.
I understand why you need it to be that, but that is the issue.
Yeah. All right, we got just over a minute here, bud. Trust me, Jeremy, I would love to throw something on the East Coast. I really would. But we got to get some radio stations out there, and we got to get more traction from the audience there. Kimberly in Maine, welcome to SOR Chat. She says, I'm in Maine, and I'm here almost every night. LOL insomnia. Well, thank you for listening, my friend. And thank you for joining our chat room. Jeffrey Green, I got your question. All right, Bob, thank you for the super chat. Lala Juan, Aloha Dave, Stoned Ape, Mennonite Abe, Android, and W. Decker, and Joe. Very much appreciated. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Nothing's ugly there. So here we go, everybody. Like 7 seconds. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, Science Bob, here we go. Final half hour. We got some audience questions for us.
Good.
And let's start off with Android here. He says, I bet Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is on the bigot list because you don't ask someone to provide their professional advice in a SSCI meeting unless they have experience in the topic. What's your thoughts, Bob?
Okay, so let me tell you how. This is a good question, Android, and thank you for it because it allows me to say something I should have already said. The way the secret would work, only those people that need to work on the craft or think about aliens or work on propulsion and all that stuff would need to be on those bigot lists. But lots of supporting people can have top secret code word clearances and not need to be on the bigot list, but still be able to access data and go to meetings for them. And given a couple of stories I've read about people who've gone in and the kind of people they met on their way in, they have those people. And Kirkpatrick could be one of those. Not on the inside, just witting there is an inside.
All right.
Give it a task.
All right. Do you think that Kirkpatrick, due to his position, is someone who is being told not to say anything, to that the government is more important than the people when it comes to this?
Absolutely. Not only that, I believe he thinks that way. Everyone that works around him that I know about and have been told about claim he is a self-centered jerk.
Has he always been that way, or did he grow?
I'm only telling you what I know about now. I don't know how long he's been that way.
All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's head over to Jeremy. Is the Vatican coming out with these guidelines their way of getting their followers ready for disclosure?
That is certainly, in my opinion, the most probable interpretation, because they realize they're in contact with experiences all around the world, including Chris Bledsoe, that are telling them something's coming and everybody will know it. And he's been demonstrating for them and others that he can call up and say, will you please go show yourself to my friends over there and so, and they do it. He's almost 100% perfect. And he's probably done that for the Vatican.
I'm not going to get too much more into this because we just had that discussion last half hour. So we're going to move on to another question. Super Crazy is asking, what do you think Carl Nell will say at the SALT conference on Tuesday? Anything big?
Yes, I think he's going to, well, the stuff we've been hearing, but he's going to make it official since he's one of the authors that the UAP Disclosure Act will be modified to take care of some concerns and brought up again during the summer. and he was going to make a case again for controlled disclosure. And let me tell you why. We all know that nasty stuff was done keeping this stuff a secret. And it's done by institutions that in this mean and nasty world, we need. We can't afford to destroy these institutions. We would like to perfect these institutions. So they want to say, things went on we wish hadn't, but we're going to tell you this and the other. This was what here. Here's what we found. And something flew in front of your camera.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it absolutely did. Wow. So, and that we are preparing for controlled disclosure because we believe that's in the best interest of the United States of America.
What do you think then, to kind of add to this, but a different topic of the SALT conference? Do you have any inside information as to why David Grush pulled out of that conference?
Yeah, he had a scheduling conflict. I think he scheduled SALT, said yes, knee jerk, and then looked at his calendar and went, oh, crap. He had a scheduling conflict. I know that for a fact.
Is it that easy, Bob? Or is it that he was starting to take, and the conference was starting to take, a lot of heat about his participation?
No, he had a scheduling conflict. I am assured of that by people I trust.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go over to Mario. Bob, did anything unusual happen at the Skywatch for UFOs? Missing time, etc.?
Well, Mario, you were there with us. I did not experience missing time that I'm aware of. The thing that happened before the Skywatch is we picked up a tag along inside the Washoe that followed us all the way home. A young, sad man. Or that's how they were portraying themselves.
Right. All right. Let's go over to who's next here? Let's go to Abbott. Are you aware of Area 52 at NASA JPL LA, California? Or CA?
There is an Area 52, but it's at the test site in Nevada. There are multiple areas besides Area 51. So I'm not aware of Area 52 at NASA JPL. And I've been to and worked at NASA JPL. I'm not aware of it.
All right. Let's go to Major Lee. Is the Elizondo book even relevant or just more hype and underdelivers while he makes $500,000?
Well, I don't know what's in the book, so we'll all have to wait until he puts it out. But if he gets through the Dobster process and fights hard and gets the ability to say a lot, it'll be worth it.
A follow-up question from Lee. I don't know why it didn't save here when I clicked on it. Was your thoughts on recent whistleblower Jason Sands?
Jason Sands is exactly who he says he was. He has the credentials he says he did. I don't know about the experience he claims to have had, but I see no reason not to believe him. He went in. I am not knocking Courtney or anybody else, including him, but he was unprepared for the space he went into. He should have gone to about 10 of those spaces and listened to how people act before he went in there so he could be cautious. He answered a couple of questions. He interpreted what he thought they meant, and that led him into making mistakes that caused him to stand on landmines, and it's taking him time to recover. And he's been in hiding for those places since then. And he has a role in James Fox's new documentary, and he really doesn't want to direct that.
Yeah, in my conversation with Jason Sands, he understands now that he should have went and did an interview in a controlled environment, whether
Yes.
whether it was here on Spaced Out Radio or Coast to Coast AM or Jimmy Church or someplace like that. He should have went in a controlled environment where proper questioning would have come out and proper answering could have come out. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm not saying prepared questions before the
No, no,
show,
no, no.
because
That's
I never do
not the way. That's not the way any good show does it. No, no. But I'm gonna tell you what. Jimmy Church tells you what questions he's going to ask ahead of time.
that. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, that's just what I know. And I think there's a lot more to the story that people that hasn't come out about Jason Sands that will come out. Okay. I know that we could get rid of the rumor that James Fox, the movie director, is going to be no, Major Lee, in our chat room. They aren't going to be softball questions. Just because questions are not aha kachas doesn't mean they're softball questions. So let's just stop cheap shotting in the chat room, please. But getting back to it, I know James Fox refused to pull the Sands part out of the movie. He went back and reconfirmed Sands with all of his sources that he has. So I think it is something that it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I mean, we know people who have seen his military records, and those are easy to check, and they are real. He was where he says he was, and he is continuing to work in a classified environment in the same job he's had for a bit.
Exactly. All right,
so he has a security clearance. He cannot be in trouble, or he would no longer have it.
Sorry, that was Jeffrey Green's question, Bob. I thought it was Lee's. It was Jeffrey Green's. Let's go to Pixie Lara. Are there areas around the globe we should pay attention to regarding release of info or confirmation?
We should look, we don't pay enough attention to Europe and South America, and they have large populations, and they have more people looking up at the sky than we do. So we should pay attention, especially to South America and some places in Europe that have lots of people that get out in the open and look up. I mean, I'm in this group with Baptiste Frescort, and it's a multinational group gathering news stories about UFOs around the world, and it's called Sentinel News, and it's now has a Substack, and it is about these stories from all over the world. And if you don't have Google.com and Google Chrome and translate on it, it's good because the articles are vetted and translated before they go into Sentinel News. So I suggest you try that, and you can see all the news from all over the world. And over Ukraine right now, there is videos on Telegram almost every day of UFOs checking out the field.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one from Sweet Tony G in the UK. Good morning to you, Tony. Bob, what's your opinion on the book of the Theuba? There we go. Theuba prophecy that Chinese ufologist Samuel Chong talks about. Have you read it, or do you know about it?
I wish I could say something, Tony, but I don't like to say stuff about stuff I don't know about.
All right, let's go to Jennifer. Bob, what's your opinion on the Mandela effect?
Well, who you really want to talk to is Lala, because she has lots of stories about it. For example, she remembers when Skechers has a T in it, for example. And she's just on and on about the Mandela effect. And I've had a couple of things that I thought were the Adjustment Bureau might have changed things. So I think it's possible, and Lala believes it's absolutely real.
All right, continuing on here. We're going to take one more question from our audience here. This one from Android. Has Jason Sands talked to the guy who was with him for his encounter? His story would have way more credibility if he had corroboration. I'll take that right off the bat.
Yes, you know it better
Number
than
one,
I do.
there were 2 other people in that vehicle. One has since passed away. The other wants nothing to do with it. What's he supposed to do? Okay. How is he supposed to get the guy to corroborate if the guy doesn't want to speak about it? Right? There's nothing he can do. I realize everybody is sick of the trust me bro crap. This is what I experience crap. Okay. That's part of the problem of ufology. Number one, there isn't enough evidence. You're not going to get the evidence that you want as the public. So you have to accept, by grinding your teeth, you have to accept the evidence that gives it to you. Now, there is a lot of controversy around Jason Sands. The way he came out on Twitter Spaces did not paint a proper picture for him. Those of us who have spoken to him on numerous occasions and have talked about him to other sources that we have, we are in a position where we can pass further information to you, the audience, regarding whether or not his information is credible. That's how we are able to do it. It's easy, okay? It's easy to cheap shot, like no corroboration as usual, okay? The same people do it every time. But if you're not going to give him or Grush or everybody, or you're going to accuse everybody of being grifters the minute they come out before you even understand their story, that's the problem with ufology. In order to move this ball forward, we have to continue with baby steps. The subject may be running, but the information is still in its infancy. Bob, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I talked to multiple people in various parts of the government that I trust, who I know are reliable people, who I know will tell me the truth. And everyone who knew him said that he was the real deal and that he could be trusted to tell the truth, that he had a very responsible job, and what he did out at I'll go ahead and say what he did out at Nellis Air Force Base and near it was exactly what he said he was doing. So that's what I go on. I don't know Jason, but I wouldn't mind interviewing him. And so about the evidence, I'm on a rampage about evidence. We're not going to get evidence from the United States government with its exquisite sensors that allow it to count the nose hairs in Vladimir Putin's nose, or from on orbit sniff his gas so we know what he ate last night. We were not going to get access to their stuff because it's classified. But we don't need to get stuff that's classified to get credible evidence, because Lala and I collect evidence that really is pretty damn incredible every single day, and we put it on Facebook for everyone to look at. But there are ways anyone can do this. So my first glance rant was done on X, and I have put into the YouTube chat and given to Dave here a link to that Twitter thread where I went to get the things we can do that's reasonably inexpensive, total expenditure $200 to $300, and we can collect our own evidence. It won't be good enough to do science, but it'll be good enough to convince your neighbors and your family you actually saw something.
The link is to a Leonard Stringfield article. Is that the one?
That's correct. And following Leonard's, the post is, here's the stuff that Leonard Stringfield wrote about ages ago, and we're the same dang place we were then now. We don't have another step forward, except we've seen weird, mushy videos that came out of the Pentagon. But here's what we can do. And the rest of the thread is about what modern technology enables us to do.
All right. I just got called a grifter in my chat room because I did journalism, which is nice. I appreciate that.
That's ridiculous. My father owned a newspaper. I don't appreciate it.
Yeah. I like Major Lee, though. I do. He pisses me off, but I like him.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, Bob, we got 4 minutes, a couple more questions from our audience here. Let's go to Paramarv here, who is saying, I don't mean to knock them, but if Sans, Lou, or anyone has to get permission from the government about what they could say, can we really expect it to be of great value? Good question.
That's a good question. And here's the thing that David Grush demonstrated for us. He put down everything he wanted to tell the public. And he got to tell us that he found evidence of non-human intelligence in crashed craft and knew where they were located. That to me is interesting. And he turned it all over to investigators to prove his case that crimes are being committed. So what he's found out is, if you say from this super classified covered up thing over here, I want to say this story out here, they have to identify themselves. They have to say what program they're in. They have to say who they serve, what stovepipe they're in, and tell you about their program and why it can't be made public. These secret keepers don't want to do that, so they let him get away with telling a lie. And this is how Doty and many others have gotten the ability to talk about what they did.
Final question from our audience tonight. This one goes to Tony. Bob, do you know what the result was of the remote viewing competition last month?
I do. 2 red dice.
2 red dice.
Yep.
Now, explain to people who may not have picked it up last month.
So Simeon and I covered all sorts of things, but we decided to just do a little remote viewing gig to see who might just be able to tune in for fun and see if they could get it. So I held up a number, 5969, and said inside this envelope with 5969, which is your coordinates, by the way, there's a picture of something. Tell me what's in the envelope. And people did stuff, and some people got reasonably close. A lot of people were far away, but that's the nature of remote viewing. You're good about 60% of the time until you practice for years. And what was in there was a picture of 2 red dice showing 6s.
Interesting. All right, Bob, about 90 seconds to go here before we have to cut you loose and say goodnight. And I always appreciate when you are on. And I want to say once again, a big thank you for you attending the 3rd straight SOR fan party in Reno, and you and La Bright coming on in and having a good time with us, and to bring you on the air to talk about everything. I just really look forward to seeing you annually at that event. And I know you and I talk quite a bit, and I appreciate that. But thank you very much for helping make our listeners' time in Reno, man.
Oh, it was great. Laura and I had a great time. She liked it. Other than the bumpy parts of the flight, she had a really great time.
I really appreciate that too. And you have a new YouTube channel and podcast set up called Orbis Paranormal, ORBIS Paranormal. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Lala and I are finding interesting people in all sorts of paranormal and UFO fields, and we're bringing them on to interview them every Tuesday night at 9:00 Eastern on YouTube and X, and it'll be about everything else shortly.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on in, Bob, and stepping on in and breaking everything down for us on that level, because we got to learn, man. And when that information comes out, we know we can always count on Dr. Bob McGwier, known as Science Bob around these parts. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, Courtney Marcassani is going to join us for UFO Court. And right before that, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing has a new story for us. We really appreciate everybody tuning us on in. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and the 3rd and final hour of the show is coming up right after this. Stay tuned, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Bobbert, we are clear. Appreciate
man.
it, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And good night.
Good night. Science Bob, everybody. Almost like there's a fog on my camera. All right, I'll be right back. All right. I am back. Maybe. Try something here. If that's any better. Try that. A little bit. Not much. All right. All right. Thank you to our super chatters tonight. Greatly appreciated. Here we go. All right, here is the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zoomatography. Zoomatography is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. That takes us up to the Kentucky Cave Wars era. Smaller cave owners in the unproductive caves region saw the tourist traffic at Mammoth Cave and decided to compete for visitors. This led to the Kentucky Cave Wars, which were unethical tactics that diverted visitors from Mammoth Cave to their private show caves. Tourists were misled by signs and campers from other show caves who convinced them that Mammoth Cave was closed or inaccessible. In 1906, a lock and dam were built at Brownsville, Kentucky, enabling steamboat access to Mammoth Cave. Max Camper, a technical college graduate from Germany, arrived in 1909 and collaborated with Ed Bishop to survey the cave and its surface area, leading to several discoveries and new entrances. The Krogan family hid the topographical details on Camper's map. The cave cartography section, however, is still recognized as an accurate representation of the cave. It was only during the modern exploration period in the 1960s that the passages were mapped more precisely. Camper left the Mammoth Cave area and was not heard from again. It was not until the early 21st century that a group of German tourists uncovered Camper's fate. After extensive research, they discovered that Camper had died during World War I in the Battle of the Somme in 1916. In 1912, renowned French cave explorer Edouard Alfred Martel used altitudes obtained from aneroid barometer readings to draw longitudinal sections of the cave as part of his attempts to understand the sequence of its formation. He also noted the correlation between the levels of Echo and Green River. A complete hydrologic study was not possible due to a dam, but Martel described the hydrogeologic features of Mammoth Cave and speculated it was linked to other caves. This hypothesis would be proven correct 60 years later. From Camper, Bishop, and others was not accessible to the public. As a result, legal disputes arose and multiple entrances to the cave were established. American cave explorer Floyd Collins explored the Flint Ridge Cave system for a decade. His most notable discovery was Crystal Cave, and he also explored Salts Cave. Collins hoped to find another entrance to Mammoth Cave, or possibly an unknown cave along the road to Mammoth Cave, and draw more visitors to drive profits. He made an agreement with 3 farmers who owned land near the main highway. They would form a business partnership if he found a cave and share the responsibilities of operating the tourist attraction. Within 3 weeks, working on his own, Collins explored and expanded a hole that would later be called Sand Cave by the news media. Tragically, Collins died in 1925 while exploring Sand Cave after he became trapped and could not free himself after a 27-pound rock dislodged onto his leg in a narrow crawlway. Despite rescue efforts, he eventually died of thirst and starvation.
And thank you very much to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story here on Spaced Out Radio, as Steve comes in every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3 of this show. We love having those stories for you. Now, we are awaiting Courtney Marcassani to join us. I know she's had some issues with her satellite connection tonight, so we're going to get into the UFO report right now, and there's something that we need to discuss here. Now, I'm grinding my gears a little bit with this one because one of the things I cannot stand about the UFO field is disclosure for dollars. Can't stand it. Don't like it. Think it's absolutely tearing this field apart from real research. Now, I do understand that for many, research does need a budget. It does need money. And many are clamoring from that, especially from the governmental side of things. But this one may take the cake. It involves Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive. They have started a fundraiser trying to raise $1 million for this. So I'm going to read this. This is from Dr. Stephen Greer. This is the disclosure everyone has been waiting for. The Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive, or DPIA, will be the ultimate go-to site for all legitimate evidence and proof of the UFO UAP issue. Dr. Greer and the Disclosure Project team have digitalized 33 years of research evidence, whistleblower testimony, crash retrieval cases, thousands of government documents from around the world, and the extensive list of UFO black sites, facilities, secret corporate operations, and more. By supporting the DPIA, you are ensuring that real disclosure happens now. There is far more information, evidence, and whistleblower testimony in the DPIA than will ever be disclosed by the U.S. government, with or without congressional hearings. Until the actual ET and man-made UFO craft, bodies, and related technologies are released to the public, the DPIA is the definitive source of information and evidence for everyone, you, Congress, the media, and governments around the world. This is the ultimate disclosure, to be made available in a custom, searchable database so every person on Earth may now, at last, know the truth. We need your vital support today to make this a reality and keep the DPIA online for free to the public. We have already spent over $500,000 creating the DPIA. Now must provide it to the world. Hosting such a vast archive with hundreds of hours of video testimony and thousands of documents, photos, and major UFO cases is expensive. By making a contribution regularly, you can assure this invaluable archive will be maintained online for free for the public to finally have the truth at their fingertips. Thank you for the support. So there have been 912 supporters in this crowdfunding so far. 6% of the goal of $1 million has been raised for a total of $57,222. You can donate by credit card or PayPal. And these are the stages. If you donate $10 to $24,999 or $24.99, you get email updates and Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge Meditations as MP3. If you donate $25 to $44.99, digital download of Cosmic Hoax poster, plus everything from the previous level. $45 to $59.99, disclosure book, digital download only though, plus everything from the previous levels. Number 4 is $60 to $79.99. Cosmic Consciousness Meditation Training, 2D CD set, only as digital outload or download, plus everything from previous levels. It goes on. How about if you donated $2,500 to $9,999.99? You get VIP seating for 2 at 3-day weekend conference with after party. Must be redeemed within a year of donation, plus everything from the previous levels. If you donate $10,000 to $24,999.99, you win dinner for 2 with Dr. Greer with a small group at the weekend conference. Must be redeemed within a year and everything previous from the other levels. $25,000 to $299,999.99. You get free tuition for 2 to Star Retreat Center week-long conference in Hot Springs, Virginia. This is not for a contact expedition that includes field work. Must be redeemed within a year. $125,000 minimum. 1 person only. Dr. Greer's hybrid electric Jeep Rubicon. Details. By the way, you could get that vehicle for about $50,000 in the U.S. Plus everything from previous levels. If you donate $300,000 or more, this is what you get. A weekend for donor and 4 to 5 friends, depending on double occupancy, with Dr. Greer at Star Retreat Center, discussing and visiting. No CE5 expedition, so you're not going to talk to the aliens. He don't want you talking to the aliens for a mere $300,000 or more. Nope. It includes lodging and meals. Please write Anna Kramer at SeriousDisclosure.com for details. Must be redeemed within a year of donation. If you spend $350,000, you get the weekend for donor and 4 to 5 friends, depending on double occupancy, with Dr. Greer. Oh, it does include a CE5 expedition. All right. So he's going to show you how to contact the aliens. All participants must have studied CE5 materials. Okay, so you're going to have to pay for those. It includes lodging and meals. Must be redeemed within a year. See pictures, natural retreats, plus everything from all previous levels. You can donate by check, by wire transfer, or Venmo or Zelle. I'm silent on this because I don't even know how to react to this. $300,000. or 125 grand, and he'll give you his hybrid Jeep Rubicon. Wow. Thank you. You can go to your local Chrysler store. Let's check this out. Let's pick a store. Let's go Chrysler USA Jeep Rubicon hybrid price. All right, let's get the price on this. It's $61,000 US. And he wants to charge you $125,000 for a used vehicle because he drove it. This is, and I want to swear so bad right now, but I know I can't. This is ridiculous. All right. Do you know what CE5 does? Okay, if you want to communicate with aliens, I'm going to give you the free version right now. I'll save you the 350 grand. Okay, so that way you don't have to study the books on it. All right. Here is how you CE5. It takes a number of nights. You clear your heart, you clear your soul. You meditate on peace, love, and light. And yes, I know it sounds hippie-ish, but that's what you do. And then you stare into, you ground yourself to the ground, you ground yourself to the stars. You then politely ask for anything out of peace, love, and light to show itself to you. And after a few nights, once your signal, because we all have a signal, gets stronger, and you keep going to where your eyes keep looking in the sky, you will see something. That's it. Keep it light. Keep your heart clear. Don't try for like 6 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay? Just keep concentrating. Send that signal out. And as that signal grows from you, it will be able to do it. You will be able to do it. Not all the time, but that's what worked for me. That's what summoning UFOs is. And if you want more, you ask for more. Because the phenomenon is only going to give you what you can handle. Now, I'm not saying the Jeep Rubicon is a bad vehicle, but he's not even autographing it. Let me tell you what I would do if somebody donated $1 million to this show. I could definitely tell you we'd be growing. We would be having a great advertising campaign. We would be probably setting up our own Sirius XM channel for all things woo. So that way you could listen to us on terrestrial radio and on Sirius XM. That would be kind of cool. What else would I do? We'd probably set up a conference, have that going on, bring everybody up here to little old Caribou of British Columbia. So that way I can charge you an extra $18,000 a person to do the CE5 that I just told you how to do for free. And you'll get a poster from Spaced Out Radio. But don't worry, we're not going to autograph it for you. Why? Well, because you'd have to pay another $74,999.99 for that. I don't know why But this really bugs me. This really bugs me. That is taking advantage of people. Who the hell is going to put out $300,000 plus? And then I like the timelines on that. If you don't cash it in within a year, you are SOL. It makes no sense. No sense at all. And I think that you could spend your money doing something else. You know what I would like to see somebody with 300,000 do? How about pay off your mortgage? All right. How about paying off tuition for a college student who takes a real study rather than something like basket weaving or political science? I'm telling you, I'm shocked by this. When it was brought to my attention by Nicole Sackich earlier today in our private chat group, my jaw dropped. It literally dropped because I couldn't understand how this would actually look. This is what gives the UFO community a black eye. This, and the sad part about it is he's already raised 57 grand for this. Now, I know that large websites can cost a lot of money. I do know that. And for a great website, you got to pay somebody a lot of money to do it because it's going to take a lot of hours, a lot of time, and a lot of code. This isn't just setting up a Wix site or a GoDaddy site in order to make it happen. But my goodness. A Greer, you are worth millions. Millions. Thanks to documentaries, we've seen your house and your dozens of acres of property that you have. I'm sure you could write the check for $1 million yourself that you're going to profit on one way or another because nothing's free anymore. This just bugs me. This bugs me a lot, and you should be offended by it too. I don't even know where to go with this. And the worst part about it is that old saying is true. Sometimes you just can't make this crap up. And here we are. Greer should write his own check. If he wants it that bad, write your own check. Hell, to go away to one of his weekends to potentially communicate with aliens psychically through someone else is like $3,500. And I showed you how to do it for free. This is what's wrong with ufology. This is what's wrong with what we are doing. And this is what gives the people who are in the trenches doing the good work a very black eye from those who don't understand what we are trying to accomplish. This does nothing for disclosure. Nothing. All it does is pad a rich man's pocket. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to continue on with everything else on this show. And if you're in our audience on YouTube or Twitter, put your questions in capital letters. I want to know what you think about the $1 million donation Stephen Greer's looking for.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer.
Why did that play? Oh, that just bugs me. That just completely bugs me. I get embarrassed, okay? People I have interviewed over the years, millionaires, billionaires, okay? I've had conversations with them through my time in sports and my time here. And I can tell you, man, nobody I've ever met has been that pompous. Mooney Mongol, how you doing? Jessica Davenport, how are you? Major Lee, that's what you call grifting. That's grifting. What other people are doing, not so much. This is grifting. I'm bugged by this. I am really, really bugged by this. Doing my best Marge Simpson right now. Here's how the funds will be used. In addition to hiring experienced digital archivist, funds will be also used to acquire more evidential material from other archives and sources. So basically, they're going to say take MUFON's stuff and put it on their own. Funds will also support ongoing expenses of hosting and serving, such as a large archive to the public. If support is insufficient to cover expenses, we will need to implement a payment requirement, and the archive will no longer be free to the public. How quickly do you think that happens? Oh, and the donations are not tax deductible. Nice. Very nice. That'll make me puke. We should all feel dumber for me having to read that. And like I said, the sad part is there's people who've already donated. We did talk about the Vatican earlier with Bob. Hi, Dark Starry Sky. How are you? Neighbor. PRM Productions. What's happening? Castle Dude, thank you. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. And yes, I am free to listen to. Free. Not $350,000 donations. No, we don't do that here. Thank you for tuning us in. And want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, we continue on. A few questions coming in from our audience regarding the Stephen Greer disclosure movement and the money that he is wanting for you, from you. Wants you to rip out those big checks from your wallet. You know, most of us carry a check in there just in case. Yeah, because us old school people, we still carry checks. Yeah, he wants you to whip that check out. Throw on a few zeros on the end of a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4. And send it off to him. Yeah. You know, I want to say something here because on our YouTube channel, we have a number of people who donate to the Super Chat. I'm ecstatic and elated if somebody gives 99 cents. I've had donations of $300, $400, $500 at times. I'm embarrassed. It makes me cry that somebody would actually do that. Because this is a free broadcast. But I'm surprised. And I appreciate it. I really do appreciate the love. All right? I totally do. But it still amazes me. Each time somebody does that, it amazes me. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And we do it out of love. We don't do it to build websites. Right? Try and take advantage of people. I'm still bothered by that. I will let it go. I will let it go. But to me, somebody saying, hey, here's $10. We appreciate your hard work. And somebody saying, hey, Dave, great show tonight, means the same. It means the same. It really does. I don't know. It just, it irks me. You know why? Because there's a lot of people who will do anything to confirm their truth. There's a lot of people in this field and in other fields out there, not just UFOs or paranormal, who have a lot of big things happening in their lives. And they will pay whatever they can in order to find answers. Whether it's to a private investigator, whether it's to UFOs, whether it's to anything. the majority of people, especially on YouTube, who show their affection by donating is an incredibly humbling piece of I don't even know how to put it. It's just incredibly humbling when somebody thinks that highly of your work that they feel you're worth $10, $20, $5, $2, 99 cents. The odd time 100 or more. And I'm kind of sheepish about it. I really am. I could never imagine turning to my audience and saying, I need $300,000. You're not going to get it back even if we fail. But I need 300,000. I need $1 million. I bought a horse. I need a new rope. $1 million, please. Oh, by the way, I'll give you my vehicle, which is used. It's got 62,000 miles on it, but don't worry about it. The powertrain warranty is still in effect up to 100,000 or 5 years. Speaking of which, here's a little car stat that many people don't know. So if you're in the United States and you buy a brand new vehicle, you get a warranty usually for, let's say, 5 years, a powertrain warranty for 5 years, 100,000 miles. Okay? Up here in Canada, we get a warranty for 5 years, 100,000 kilometers. That's about 62,000 miles. Who thought of that? And people are actually falling for it. You get everything good in the United States. Even your car warranties are better on the same vehicle. I could have a Ford F-150. You could have a Ford F-150 in the U.S. I get covered to 62,000 miles. Okay? You get covered to 100,000 miles. All because of a digit on a VIN. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Now, I know that has nothing to do with UFOs or anything, but that's a ripoff, man. That's a ripoff. Philip Blair, are Canadian roads that rougher on vehicles? No. We have pavement up here. Yours are actually rougher with concrete. Yes, it's Canada's fault for going metric. I will say this, though. I had to go get medication, and I paid like $8 for it. So that's kind of cool. Blood pressure medication, if you're wondering. Yes, my blood pressure is getting better. Slowly but surely it's getting better. I can feel it lowering. Yeah, Dr. Stephen Greer. Needs $1 million. He's a millionaire. Charges like $3,500 a weekend to hang out with him, to contact some aliens that you can do for free at home. But that's okay. Needs $1 million. I can tell you this. The Reno fan party actually ends up costing me money. All right? I was talking to Sweet Robbie G, our weekend host, about this. All right? I end up putting about $2-3 grand of my own money into putting the fan party together. It's true. I can show you the receipts. I do it because I want our fans to have a good time. Me winning on a slot machine, Vanessa, which I won $1,233, by the way, American, which is about 1,600 Canadian. Okay, that was bonus. But overall, for the event, when we add it all together, hotel rooms and conference rooms and internet fees and every type of fee that that hotels charge you, plus the T-shirts, the swag, and everything that goes along with it, cost me about $2-3 out of my pocket. I don't care. I don't care. And I'll tell you why. It's because I want our fans to have a good time. I want our fans to be able to come here and hang out with our special guests. I'm not sitting here trying to make money off an event that I'm having a great time at too. And we're throwing a great party. All right. We're throwing a great party. Imagine that party if all of you donated $10,000 apiece. But if it isn't good, you do not get a refund of that money. My goodness. Dr. Stephen Greer needs $1 million. I think he lives on like 72 acres or something ridiculous like that. He's probably got a 7,000 square foot mansion. But for $125,000, you could get his used Jeep Rubicon, which has a black book value of about 42, depending on the year. So if it's like 2 years old, it's probably around 36 grand right now. Somebody call Auto Trader and find out. Yeah. But hey, we got disclosure for dollars happening. And it's not just him who's doing it. The scientific researchers are doing it. Fighter pilots are doing it. Others are doing it. All trying to get the money out of a rock, which is the UFO world. Let's get to some audience questions. Android. This level of greed is so extreme, I think it will cause Dr. Greer to lose many followers. Do you think it will cause him to lose followers, Dave? No, I do not. Because those followers are used to paying for him. Now, everybody, well, most people can afford the lower tier of $24, $25. Okay. Not everybody's going to be able to write a $500,000 check. But there are people out there who are so defined in what they believe. They will forego groceries in order to donate. They'll say, well, I just won't buy as much this month because I got to put $500 down or I got to put $1,000 down. Yeah, I'll skip the hydro payment this week or this month. I'll pay double next month. So people think. And if you've ever been poor, which I have, you know that there are times when you have to choose between gas in your tank and food in your kids' bellies. And I've been there. And there's nothing that makes you feel more guilty than when you have to tell your child, that's all we have to eat for right now. Yeah. I've been there. Killed me. Never felt like a worse parent in my life. Here I was, college educated guy working in Vancouver at a radio station. I remember playing a poker game with my friends. I was the only one with a college education there, and I was the lowest paid by $17,000 a year to the number 2 guy, the second poorest. It's a true story. So when I see things like this, and I know there are people out there, and there's people in every community like that, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's ghost hunting, I've seen people literally spend thousands of dollars, and they've said this online, where they've spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on new equipment or new, um, going to these tourism places like Waverly Hills or Bobby Mackey's or wherever it may be, and they don't have enough money to pay rent next month. It's scary how people prioritize sometimes. And the one thing that I know about this field, as somebody who's now worked in it for almost 10 years, there isn't a lot of money in this field. There's always money, okay? But people money, there isn't a lot of. I know this year, with the way the economy is, our numbers were down for the fan party, way down than what they normally have the first 2 years. But I understand. It's a tough economy out there. Most people would rather, I don't know, eat, have hot water, pay their cell phone bill, make sure their car has fuel in it. I mean, people in Canada here, we make the gas, and we're paying almost $10 a gallon in certain areas. Americans are complaining if they're paying $3 to $4, maybe $5. I'd love those prices. I'd love those prices. I put $150 gas in my truck the other day. I got half a tank. Half a tank of fuel for $150. Nearly $10 a gallon in the Lower Mainland area near Vancouver. And we make the gas. Canada has the second largest oil reserve next to the Middle East. Hell, even in Venezuela, they're paying like 8 cents a liter or whatever it may be. And that's a socialist state there. Moody Mongol says, but Dave, if you sell a testicle, you're paid $35,000. That's like $70,000 for the pair. And if you do it after you're having kids, it'll pay the college fees. That's a win-win scenario. Sorry, but my cojones are safe right where they are. But then again, I could attend Dr. Stephen Greer's. Well, hold on. What do I get for? Let me see here. Let me bring it up here for a second again because I closed the window. 70 grand for me cojones. What do I get for that? Here we are. So 70,000 is about 100,000 Canadian. 110,000 Canadian right now. Oh. I don't want to log in. Try that one. There it is. 70 grand. What do I get? Oh, I would get free tuition for 2 to Stars Retreat Center Week long conference in Hot Springs, Virginia. This is not a contact expedition. So I get no aliens. That includes field work, must be redeemed within a year. I don't get the used Jeep Hybrid electric Rubicon. I get dinner for 2 with Greer with a small group at a weekend conference. VIP seating for 2 at a 3-day weekend conference. General admission for 1 person to a 3-day contact conference. A bunch of digital downloads, MP3s. That's it. Say goodbye to 70 grand, just like that. I didn't think I'd get a full hour out of this, but I totally did. Totally did. That's just scary. Just scary. That's what offends me. Absolutely offends me. Oh, well. Tomorrow night on the show, Nomar Slevik is going to be here. We're going to talk about UFOs over Maine, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I appreciate Nomar coming on in. Yeah, we got a busy week coming up here on Spaced Out Radio. So we finish things hard with Nomar. But if you got extra 70 grand, do yourself a favor. Pay off some bills. Put some gas in your tank. Hell, put some gas in your kid's tank or your parents' tank. That's what being a human is all about. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brothers watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Does anybody in the chat room want to know what unfiltered Mindy is? Is there an unfiltered Mindy? Because we have Mindy filtered. What does unfiltered Mindy do? What is it like? I'm curious now. Isaac, how you doing? Who else can we shut out? Philip Blair. The lip blade himself, Grantavius Effin Maximus. Oh, yeah, there he is. Heavy on the effing. By the way, W. Decker, thank you for your kind words, for those amazing super chats. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Yep, numbers 46 tonight. Lars Janssen. Grant, it was amazing to see you, bro. Amazing. You're looking good, man. You're looking good. The mustache was tight. Very tight. All right, what am I doing, Dave? What am I doing? What are you doing, Dave? What are you doing? See how we're doing here. Well, obviously. By the way, it's my birthday next Friday, so I'm expecting all of you to be here. Yeah, I do. I do expect that. I'm greedy that way. Well, thank you, Jessica. I tried to show that you can give information without having to go nutso or have aha gotcha moments. I am going to sing happy birthday to myself. You want to know what my birthday tradition is? I always get something from me. From me. Because I appreciate me. My birthday present to me this year is Grant Cameron being my guest. That's my birthday present to me. Because I love Grant Cameron. My other birthday tradition is I get an ice cream cake every year. I love ice cream cake from Dairy Queen. And I want colorful icing and the writing on it. I don't want to mess around with anything, that's too foo-foo-y or whatever. I want some color to it. I like it when you get the blues and oranges and yellows and greens and reds on there. I like that. It's the kid in me that gets all excited. But we started a new tradition about 5-6 years ago. instead of cutting the cake, because everybody knows it's damn near impossible to cut an ice cream cake, we just grab forks and everybody digs in. Just leave the cake there. Makes a big mess, but it's so worth it. And it's so much more fun. Yep. That's what I'm doing. That is what I am doing. And when the Edmonton Oilers advanced to the third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs after beating the Canucks.
With your host, Dave.
Yeah, that's me. Good. Then I wanted Edmonton Oilers cake. As for Matt, how you doing? I think the Oilers in Carolina or Oilers in Florida. That's what I think. Oh, dark starry sky. Look at you stirring up the bullshit right now. I think you got too much northern lights on your eyes the other day. That's what it is. You know why Edmonton beat Vancouver last night? Because we didn't play for overtime. We played for the win right then and now. Calgary didn't make the playoffs. Calgary's still about 3 years away. Asimov, how are you? For $125,000, you could buy yourself 2 brand new Jeep Rubicons hybrids. Just saying. I think the PWHL's Esfermet is amazing. I love women's hockey. I wish they would take the cages off. I really do. I wish they would go to a visor just like the men. But I understand why. But I think marketing-wise, it'd be much better for them if they took the visor off or put a visor on rather than the full cage. Those women are extremely talented. They are kicking ass at the game. They're getting triple the size crowds that the WNBA is. And those ladies are good. They are really, really good. And I love how collegiate hockey in the U.S. especially has taken off with women's hockey the last 20 years, and that it's getting the fandom that it deserves. I'm a big fan of women's hockey. All right, everybody. Old Davy's got a bolt. Once again, Nomar Slevik. Tomorrow night, UFOs over Maine. Thank you to W. Decker, ×4. Joe, Bob, Juan, Lala, Android, Mennonite Abe, Stone Ape, Aloha Dave, Castle Dude, Flat 6, Major Lee. Thank you for the love, guys. Tomorrow night, let's do it again. Went to a PWHL game in Detroit in February. We don't have a team yet. There was almost 14,000 fans. Yeah, the PWHL, if it gets a television contract like the WNBA, they will smoke the WNBA. They will smoke them. I'm telling you, if you have not seen women's hockey, go check it out. It is a phenomenal game. It's a phenomenal game. The ladies play it fantastically. Lex Diaz, how you doing? All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. I'm out.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.